There's a moment in Avengers Infinity War that most people walked past without a second thought. Thanos, the most powerful being in the universe, turns to Tony Stark and says just one word.
Stark.
And Tony, confused, asks,
You know me?
and Thanos replies,
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
You're not the only one cursed with knowledge. Most people heard that as a cool villain line, a piece of dramatic flair before a fight scene. But Thanos wasn't talking about intelligence. He wasn't talking about strategy or power or information. He was talking about something far more specific, far more painful. He was describing a condition, one that has no name in most psychology textbooks, but that certain people carry every single day of their lives. And if you've ever felt like understanding the world made it harder to live in, then Thanos was talking about you too. This is the curse of knowledge and awareness. We are told, our entire lives, that knowledge is power, that awareness is a gift, that the more you understand about the world, about people, about yourself, the better your life becomes. And on the surface, that sounds right. The more you know, the better your decisions. The more you understand people, the better your relationships. The more self-aware you are, the more in control you feel. This is the story we tell ourselves. Schools teach it. Self-help books sell it. Motivational speakers perform it. Know more. Grow more. Be more. And here is the cruelest part of this story. It isn't entirely wrong. Knowledge does give you power. Awareness does make you more capable. But there is a side of this equation that nobody talks about. A side effect so consistent, so predictable, that once you see it, you'll recognize it in almost every deeply aware person you've ever met. Here is the truth. The more you understand, the harder it becomes to enjoy. Not because the world gets worse, but because you change and the world stays exactly the same. Think about this. Before you understood how manipulation works, you could watch a politician speak and feel inspired. After you understand it, you see the techniques, the pauses, the word choices, the emotional triggers being pulled. You can't not see them. Before you understood cognitive biases, you could have an argument and feel completely certain you were right. After, you second-guess yourself. You see your own blind spots. You watch your own mind construct its defenses in real time, and you know what it's doing. Before you understood the psychology of relationships, you could fall in love simply, completely, without analysis. After, some part of your mind is always watching, categorizing, asking questions that ruin the moment they're asked. This is the curse. Awareness doesn't just illuminate the good things. It illuminates everything. There is a psychological concept called metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. Most people have it in limited doses. They reflect sometimes. They catch themselves sometimes. But deeply aware people, the ones who've accumulated a certain kind of knowledge, develop metacognition that never turns off. They don't just think. They watch themselves think. And that watching has a cost. Psychologists have found that extreme self-awareness is closely linked to something called rumination, the tendency to replay events, conversations, and decisions in your mind long after they've passed. Not to learn, not to improve, just to replay. And here is what makes the curse so insidious. The more knowledge you accumulate, the more material your mind has to work with. Every book you read is another lens through which to reanalyze your past. Every psychological framework you learn is another way to diagnose yourself. Every philosophy you absorb is another reason to question decisions you already made. Knowledge doesn't quiet the mind. For people like this, it feeds it. But perhaps the sharpest edge of this curse is not internal. It's what happens to your relationship with other people. When you accumulate a certain level of awareness, you stop being able to fully inhabit the same world as people who haven't. Not because you're better than them, but because you can't unknow what you know. You sit in a conversation where someone states something with complete confidence, something you know is a cognitive distortion, or a rationalization, or a story they've told themselves so many times it feels like fact, and you have a choice. You can say something, and risk being seen as difficult, arrogant, or a killjoy. Or you can say nothing, and feel a kind of loneliness that is very hard to describe. This is not arrogance. This is the gap that knowledge creates between people. And the gap tends to widen, not narrow, with time. Because the more aware you become, the more you realize how many conversations are happening on a surface you can see through. You watch people perform emotions they don't feel, defend ideas they don't believe, seek things they don't actually want. And sometimes, you watch yourself do the same thing. And that might be the most unsettling part of all. So let me leave you with something. If you've been watching this and nodding, not just intellectually, but recognizing something, then you already know what I'm about to say. You already carry some version of this. And here is the thing about the curse of knowledge and awareness. There is no cure. You cannot unread what you've read. You cannot unsee what you've seen. You cannot return to the version of yourself that existed before the moment of understanding. That person is gone. Some people discover this and spend years trying to get back to a simpler way of seeing. They can't. Others decide that the answer is more knowledge, that somewhere further down the road, enough understanding will finally bring peace. It won't, because the curse of knowledge is not a problem to be solved. It is the price of a particular kind of mind. And you are reading the receipt. The question, the only honest question, is not how to lift the curse. It is whether you are willing to carry it without letting it crush you. That answer, only you have.